Good morning. 1 second here. So momentum is slowing down here, and prices coming down as much as they have. It makes sense. We talked about this yesterday morning. Uh, there was an attempt to go higher. You can see we're looking at the futures here. That failed, and the candle body is not only in the lower third. You can see this actually down below a little bit. So we're getting, for the moment, lower high, lower low, broke these lows. And one of my comments yesterday was that, look, with interest rates in the green room, for those of you that are online here, with the 10-year up above 3.3, Bitcoin cracking below 19,000, institutions are hanging in there, buying at these levels. So can they turn things around? Meaning, can they get prices up to close near a prior day's high? That's what we look for initially. And then, of course, can they close it above a prior day's high? You see over here, it got above the prior day's high but closed lower, and that is a continuation pattern. And that did continue yesterday in a very slow pace. I mean, it wasn't slow in the morning. It's whipped up, up and down, and just basically closed a little bit lower. And we see this morning things are just flip flopping here, back and forth for the moment. So the attempt to go up initially here has failed, and it's broken down. But essentially, look, it's just going nowhere. And, looking at the hourly chart here, we've got a little pullback kind of buy pattern here, and we'll see if it could actually make the turn. So it's going to be a little tricky at the open. Got the 5-minute, it's down on some support. It's stalled here. There was a little mini void, and it dropped down. Buyer stepped up there, and it's getting tighter. Just slow down before the next move. I would think so, McGraw. Look, after every slowing momentum, which naturally comes after an increase in momentum, right? Obviously, we'd all agree this was an increase in momentum, and this was a monster increase in momentum, and then it continued lower. We got this continuation pattern. So, we're at a point where, does it actually continue to slow? At a point where it makes a turn, or is it slowing here, and at one point do buyers throw in the towel and drive it down to 3,800, where we've got this little void here, obviously on the future, and as we look at the S&Ps. We talked a bunch about retracement concepts in the room yesterday, and while this isn't marked as a pivot, we know it's a pivot in a smaller time frame, and this move from the overnight lows up to here is a strong retracement. And that's why I referred to this as a kind of a little mini buy setup, because of the depth of retracement here and how this is pulling back. I'm just eyeballing it around 50%. This is where buyers should want to step up and try and, move it higher. So it's not a great setup, but, big wide bar, and now momentum has to slow down, in this time frame. Obviously here, where it tries to move back up again toward the highs, and if that fails, well, then it comes back down toward the overnight lows, and we're in a little trading range. And again, ultimately, at some point, who blinks, buyers or sellers? And even if they can turn it up a little bit, now that it failed up here at 4,000, that's going to be very stiff resistance. So the greater opportunity, is lower, and where I've got this green area. I mean, this is where you've got some closing prices and opening prices clustered with 3,800. So that's your obvious low point stalling area where prices could come down. And of course, if the momentum increases, it doesn't have to stop there, but that would be our initial stall point. We got bottoming tails a bit lower at 37.50, and again, I don't know what's going to get things moving here today. What today is actually Wednesday, and there's some Fed guy speaking later in the day, so be aware of that. That could be a possible market mover. And so I was listening to CNBC this morning, and Steve Leisman, whatever reason, they were talking about, I guess now they're coming, or I guess the markets are coming back, however they try and interpret what the Fed is doing, that they're going to do another 75 in this month, and then following by another 50. So there's always these assumptions about what the Fed is going to do, where now they're coming to the realization that what Powell said, oh, he actually meant it. There was going to be some pain. And, that being the case, so far the markets are holding here today. So it just seems like it's not going to be an easy day. An easy day I refer to as an easy day can being a nice trend day. So again, we'll see if things pick up here one way or the other. And so spiders, as we always look at to assess the gap, and 390-ish. See what Gross sharing with me here. The first short-term catalyst when Powell speaks tomorrow. Okay, will certainly be a driver. I don't know what he could say, McGraw, that's different than what he said the last time. He's certainly not going to say that we're going to be less aggressive, but we'll see, right? I mean, the markets are dealing with uncertainty right now, so with that being the case, it's hanging on whatever it can for direction. And as you're pointing out, he's going to be speaking tomorrow at what do you say, 9:10 in the morning. This other guy speaking today at 2, and thinking along those lines, if there's a unified message of the Fed being more aggressive, that could be the catalyst that drives things down. And you're saying it could spark a rally. Well, maybe, but rally to where? 4,000, which I guess for intraday purposes, that's all fine. But things are here. Yeah, just really, as you can see, I'm moving my cursor here on the hourly chart. It's not doing much of anything. So the momentum on different time frames is just coming to a screeching halt here. So staying with the charts and looking at this hourly chart, we talked about this in part yesterday, we were looking at, but this depth of retracement should have resulted in some viable pullback, and maybe gone higher, and that failed. And now that this is retraced deeply all the way back down to the lows, and it's going sideways here, and you can see these tails, what we call bar by bar analysis, aligning bar by bar analysis with what's happening here, deep retracement, and these topping tails that are telling us that, yesterday prices were getting rejected, and now staying down here near these lows after a deep retracement, which would typically result in some kind of move higher. Well, that leads to the thought, right? What we call everything we teach here, the combination of concepts, a thought process, leads to the thought of this could break down. So I drag this down here for my reference point, right, 394-ish. And if it could retrace up there just between here and here, right, we can look at a smaller time frame, which isn't much, but if it can clear this 394 on SPY, it certainly opens up the door to moving up here. So this is a level you're going to want to set an alert at, just to be aware of what's happening in the market. And then, down here, there's a pretty tight little range, that bottoming tail bar, 388-ish or so, and 394, pretty darn tight, which way things going to go, one way or the other here. So this opens up the door to at least a move back up toward resistance, which can get things up, well, going up toward 4,000. So we'll see. We yesterday talked about this pullback, this deep retracement, and this pullback to minor support where it could make a turn. So we're waiting for the turn. We're waiting. All right, so SPX. Let's see where things are at here. Now, if I had my wishes, I'd pick something way down here. And 38 and a quarter. Jacob's saying 39.75. 39.75, which should be fine as long as it doesn't clear. It doesn't clear yesterday's high. I mean, that's far enough away and near 4,000. And again, just based on what I've already said, my bias is that it wouldn't get up there. Because what's going to spark it? But after 2 o'clock, I mean, if this other guy comes out after 2 o'clock and says something bullish, it could. But look, by 2 o'clock, you could be done with this because the time decay will kill it. 39.75. Okay. 70 by 80. And you know what? As we look at these levels, it's interesting how the jumps from one strike to another, once you get to a certain point where that we interpret based on the technicals, like this decent premium, it drops kind of a lot to the next levels. So as you get further away, I mean, that's normal, but from one to the next. So yeah, I like that 39.75. You can see 39.75. As you can see my cursor, it's up above the midpoint of that wide range bar. But, the above yesterday's high, you got to start thinking it has the potential to get up there, and below yesterday's low, it's got the potential to obviously move lower. Okay, other markets, we're going to see the same, and so we got a little breakdown on the futures there yesterday. It didn't follow through much lower. Clearly, no one's ready to really sell it. And so with this continuation pattern, an immediate stall, dipped down, it went up, came back down again, and so far it's just holding here. So, it's down a lot. Everything others might look at suggesting oversold, where we just look at things, it's extreme. It's had an extreme move, so it'll stall, but at some point, oversold can become more oversold. So that's not a concept to hang your hat on. And we see as far as prices have moved, it would make sense for some kind of a retracement, which happened, over here. And that's why, again, this is a continuation pattern. CL broke. We'll get to that. YM, it was up a bit earlier, and you see it dipping back down. It's been showing relative weakness. It's kind of crawling its way lower. Same pattern there on the hourly and the 5-minute. Russell, just kind of grinding. So this is, we normally talk about self-correcting uptrends. This is more of a self-correcting downtrend and what that means is there's these attempts to make turns and it fails, and it's just a slowing, grinding move where there's moments where it seems like it's going to make the turn, but it doesn't. So it's down below here. And just looking at this, this cluster of opens and closes is where ultimately you would think it should go, or possibly lower, and you got the same hourly chart. So nothing much to go on here. Right. Bitcoin, as I said, broke down yesterday. It closed below 19,000. Whether this could possibly turn into a W, it's yet to be seen. But what I was referring to, what moves lower and going sideways, is exactly this and this, where prices go down and they come to an area and they look like they can retrace back up a bit, where you get your typical lower high setup and, it rolls back over, but it doesn't. It goes sideways there. And then it goes sideways here. It's bearish, and you see the rejections. And now as it breaks down, the momentum picked up. So it would require like a range expansion 180. What's that? You might say, Greg. Well, this is a range expansion compared to these bars. And a 180 would need a green bar right back up again, which essentially would make this like a breakdown failure. And then this range expansion, you can see here, the void in the smaller time frame, would have to retrace all the way back up to it. And that would be a powerful signal down here, yet to be seen or not. So far, just slowing momentum, doing nothing. It's silver, trying to bounce, rejection. Of course, we talked about the dollar, right, over and over again because it's in a power trend. So again, rejection, kind of continuation pattern, which isn't a great odds setup with this particular one since it's down here at support. Crude oil breaking down. Look at that. Breaking down here. And hey, that's implications of recession. Crude oil, moving lower like this. We already know the market's in recession, whatever they want to admit or not. When the country's in recession, whatever they want to admit, in even ignoring their own 2 quarters of GDP, negative GDP, that's already been there. So where does this lead? What really leads, what been talked about, months ago, stagflation. Just it's terrible, right? Look at the 3-month. Right? Started talking about this down here at the end of 2001, that it was going to be a problem, and that's moving higher again. Yes, they're going to raise interest rates again, and the 5-year, putting up there, the 10-year. They said yesterday was up above 3.3. What's going to stop it? Well, I don't see anything going to stop it. Right? We know we'll see that when and if it happens. Of course, the transports, inching lower. So in my opinion, let's get it over with. Move it lower, let them do whatever. Oh, that was a little scary. Get it down to support, create that void, and we get a nice bounce within this bear market. So, and you can see the currencies getting killed. I'm waiting for this to come up here. Anyway, the yen's been getting killed. This thing's stalling here. So, this dog is amazing, Ty. I mean, it's like there's nothing going on, and every time I doubt this dog, somebody's out there doing something. Anyway, I know, I don't know why this isn't coming up, but yeah, this thing has been slaughtered. You can just see, just crushed. So, all right, Dan, all yours. Yeah.
Yeah, I think somebody said yesterday they have the ECB interest rate this week, Thursday maybe. All right, we have a lot of opens now. Oh, hey, Rocco. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we did an earnings trade yesterday afternoon before I left. Just, things beating down on the support. I just love them. Those are the ones I'll do. It doesn't mean it's not going to gap down into earnings, but the bet is any gap down is going to be less than the volatility crush. And so now I said, just bid a penny to close or nothing, let it expire worthless. I like to get them, earnings, even though with a bullish gap, you still could get some crazy moves on subsequent talk and whatever. So that's just my routine to close them at a penny. All right, we got a lot of opens. They're all fine. So just ask me if you have any questions on them. Otherwise, I'll go through this big interest list here. As Greg was talking, I saw TLF and Saidu moving. This definitely looks like a SPAC, even though SPACs usually go sideways at $10. I don't know what's going on with this thing, but I have no interest. It looks like a penny stock that's trying to come out of hibernation or a short squeeze thing. All right, Saidu, it had a nice blast off here in May, and then it's been in a coma. But look at a weekly. So that's worth watching. Let it settle down a bit. Like junk, the journal said junk is, junk bond fund. The journal said they have the highest defaults now since 2020 of 6 billion. And even though that's a small number relative to the 1.5 trillion junk bond market, it's just pure mathematics and economics. You're raising interest rates, economy's slowing, you can't pay them, you default on your junk bond. Junk bond by definition means you're a higher risk borrower in the first place. So you're already playing with fire. You're not playing with Apple or giving a loan to Warren Buffett. You're dealing with junk credit companies. So this, expect that to get beat up more. Aluminum, the journal said the European group rejected a merger. B-Fly, I don't know if this is good liquid up here, but if this is opening at 631, my alarm went off, and I've been saying for a couple days, if this breaks out, kind of a W retest pattern with a price void target 750. So I got that in a window on the other computer. Path had earnings or lack thereof. This is going into my category of, wow, look, that thing, that's just on a death trend there. Look at this potential bottoming pattern. Failed. And there's been a lot of those over the last month or so. We'll see where buyers step up. That could be a put spread, 30-minute high. GWRE, same, 63, gapping down $4. It's down a lot into earnings. We'll see what it does in the first 30 minutes. This one's opening up a little bit. Earnings, we'll come back to you. HQY, I don't see doing anything. Riot and Mara gave some mining numbers. Yeah, I was out yesterday afternoon. I didn't see Bitcoin crashing like it did, but both of these look lower. I'm surprised. Actually, the market held up as well as it did with Bitcoin nosediving and with rates going up too. All right, NEO had earnings. Let's see, I would love this to be gapping down to like $14 or something, and then it would be a gap and snap. That's ugly. We'll come back to you. UAL said they're increasing some type of forecast. It's not earnings, but they just came out and said something is improving. So we obviously look at jets. Jets are gapping down. So UAL relative strength, but no pattern. Newell. All right, this is a gap and snap candidate. Look, it's a climactic buy setup and now gapping down. I'll put that one here, actually. Newell. Wiley, I can't see a gap. Rev G, same. So we got to come back to you. KFY gapping down 57 and change. We'll come back. Nothing. That needs to get over yesterday's high. And then it's a Climo. So, you know what? I'll set an alarm at 20 and see what happens. But that's earnings too, so we can maybe do a put spread. All right, set. ASO, that's cruising right now. 45. All right, it's gapping right here to the 20 MA, so there's no pattern, but we'll come back to you. Maybe put spread. A alpha, and this is one you can trade up or down. I don't see any gaps, but that's a bearish consolidation after this wide range breakdown. but you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars with a price void above and below. Whichever way this opens. Yes, it had earnings. Yeah, I'll put it right here. A alpha bottom right. AEO, a retailer opening flat. Near junk. Apple's having their iPhone 14 conference today. People love those conferences, both retailers and the media. So I would say as a general rule, their marketers do a good job pumping it up and exciting people and stirring excitement. So as a general rule, I would say it's a positive bias. But we're chart readers, and we need a bullish chart if we're going to trade it. But on the flip side, it's gapping up here a little bit under yesterday's low as a short and a call spread. All right, wheat here, nice. Remember we were buying this. Well, actually, it didn't trigger on this day. I said buy over the high. It never triggered, and now it's I got more bars, so more bars are creating more support on the breakout, and now it's gapping up. So this looks great. You can buy it. Just start nibbling into it. We'll see if we get a pullback or whatever. Same with corn, had a buy setup, closing trigger. So the buy setup triggered already. BI8F, IPO gapping up. We'll come back to you. Coup we talked about. We're going to close our short puts. OSUR. It's a buy setup on the weekly, but it has, I don't know, it's junk. Deleting you. HYRE. Now this one had a nice gap yesterday we talked about, and look at the weekly monthly I like. So I'm just gonna watch it for a week. See if it sets up for a bullish entry on the daily. Same with this one. It's a bearish daily. I was looking to sell a call spread yesterday, but there was no juice. And it's a pullback greater than 100% weekly. But look at the monthly. It's a beautiful monthly 1, 2, 3. So we got time frames out of whack to get on board for a longer term trade. Short term, it looks lower. It's short term top. CCJ, a couple people were watching yesterday. Dunking. Let me set an alarm here at 1590. It's trying to make the turn at the 50 there. I had a Wefford. I never got filled on this yesterday. Wefford naked puts. So let's go ahead and cancel that. We're trying to shorten it, puts on it. All right, Coup is rallying. I have bids out for 1 penny. I don't hear any bells off yet, but it's fine. Yeah, so